Welcome to the Morning Download Podcast, your go-to resource for personal finance, economics, and market insights. In just 8 minutes a day, we provide valuable information to help you make better money decisions. Don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter at https://www.morningdownload.com. Subscribe. Let's dive right in. In today's episode, we'll cover Europe heading towards recession, new leadership in companies, maxing out 401k contributions, CEO changes impacting stocks, Ripple's price rise, considering personal finance goals before retirement contributions, and Benjamin Graham's quote about the market.
It seems like the investment world has its eyes on cryptocurrencies these days, but let's not forget about good old stocks either. Here's a fun tidbit for you. Did you know that the first ever real-world Bitcoin transaction involved pizza? Yep, you heard it right. Back on May 22, 2010, an innovative programmer by the name of Laszlo Hanyecz decided to spend a whopping 10,000 Bitcoin to get his hands on some tasty slices. It's crazy how far we've come since then, huh? Now let's dive into today's topics. 1. Europe is facing some economic challenges, and there's talk about a potential recession lurking on the horizon. It's definitely something to keep an eye on if you're invested in European markets or have international ties. Stay tuned for updates on this front. 2. Companies are going through leadership transitions, with fresh faces stepping into top positions. New leadership can bring about changes, opportunities, and challenges for investors. Keep an eye on how these changes might affect the companies you're interested in. 3. Here's a question for you. Is it a smart move to max out your 401k? It's a topic that often stirs up debates among financial experts. We'll explore the pros and cons, as well as some things to consider when it comes to making this decision. So sit tight, folks, and get ready for some insightful discussions on today's investment hot topics. It looks like there's a 52% chance of a mild recession in the UK in the second half of this year. The economy has been contracting in the last 2 quarters, but it's not just the UK that's facing problems. The euro area economy is at risk of falling into a recession, with output shrinking slightly in the third quarter. And on top of that, the ongoing Hamas-Israel war could make things even worse. European companies have already lost a whopping 100 billion euros from operations in Russia due to the Ukraine conflict. And speaking of the US, there's a warning that it could fall into a recession too. The Israel-Hamas war could worsen inflation, and the jobs report is also giving off some recession warning signs. Unemployment has been rising and hit 9% in the last report. If it's not brought under control quickly, it could end up damaging the economy. But let's not end on a completely gloomy note. We've got some interesting global news as well. Ryanair, the airline, is doing something pretty cool. For the first time in 40 years, they're offering regular payouts to shareholders. And luxury brand LVMH has bought eyewear brand Barton Pereira for a cool $80 million. And it looks like some bulls are back in emerging markets too, with growth stocks outperforming. So there are some interesting developments happening in the business world, particularly with CEOs of major companies. Let me give you a quick rundown of what's been going on. First up, we have Whitney Wolfe Herd, the founder and CEO of Bumble, who will be stepping down early next year. She'll be passing the baton to Lydianne Jones, who is currently the CEO of Slack, Salesforce's cloud-based messaging platform. When Jones takes over, Wolfe Herd will transition to a new role as executive chair. Sounds like a big shift for Bumble. Then there's Bed Bath & Amp Beyond, who recently made a surprising move by parting ways with their CEO, Jonathan Johnson. Apparently, they had even planned meetings with him just a couple of weeks ago. Johnson had been with the company for over 20 years and played a key role in leading its acquisition of Bed Bath & Amp Beyond out of bankruptcy. Moving on, Hugh Johnston, who has been the CFO of PepsiCo for a long time, is making a move to become Disney's next finance chief. This comes after Disney's previous CFO, Christine McCarthy, stepped down earlier this year. We'll have to keep an eye on how PepsiCo handles this change while Disney prepares to report their quarterly earnings. Now, you might wonder why all these CEO changes matter. Well, new leadership often brings about significant changes in a company, which can have an impact on stock prices. Generally, there's more downside risk when a new CEO takes over, as investors worry that the new direction might not be as favorable as before. Interestingly, data shows that stocks tend to lose an average of 19% in the 30 days following a CEO departure. However, there are cases where investors welcome a new CEO if they had concerns about the previous one. Oh, and before we wrap up, don't forget to check out Citigroup, who is considering deep job cuts as part of CEO Jane Fraser's overhaul. It seems like the world of CEOs is buzzing with changes. It looks like Ripple is making some waves in the market once again. In the last 5 days, Ripple has seen a gain of 16%, and it's currently being traded at $0.71. Just when you thought it couldn't get any better, prices even rose by 11% before experiencing a slight retreat on Monday. Talk about trading on fire. The trading volumes spiked up to a massive $2 billion from the previous day's $1 billion, making Ripple the top-performing cryptocurrency of the day. Now let's dig into the details. Data suggests that these gains were mainly driven by spot trading. Although XRP-tracked futures, liquidations hit just over $4. 4 million, there weren't any major catalysts behind these exciting developments. It seems like investors are still riding high from two major announcements made last week, one of them being the Dubai Financial Services Authority's approval of XRP under its virtual assets regime. What's next for Ripple? Well, technical analysis indicators are pointing in the direction of further price gains this week. Some experts even predict the coin might hit the $0.74 mark next week. Looking ahead to the future, the target for Ripple in 2024 is set at $1.3. While it's lower than the all-time high of $3.84, it's still higher than the 52-week high of $0.92. Exciting times ahead for Ripple enthusiasts. So the IRS has increased contribution limits, and now you're wondering if you should max out your retirement accounts. Well, my friend, that's not a simple yes or no answer. It really depends on a few factors. Firstly, take a look at your non-retirement goals. It's important to consider these too. Make sure you tackle things like getting rid of debt, building an emergency fund, and getting adequate insurance, including health insurance, long-term care insurance, disability insurance, and life insurance. Oh, and don't forget about establishing a will or trust. Completing these goals should take priority over maxing out your retirement plan. Plus, your personal goals come into play as well. For example, owning a house might be more important to you than maxing out your 401k contributions. But before you make any decisions, remember to at least contribute the minimum amount to get your employer's match for a company-sponsored retirement plan if it's offered. That's essentially free money, my friend. Now let's talk about alternatives. Are there any other interesting investment options out there? Consider the fees and taxes involved in these alternatives. If the fees in your employer-sponsored plan are sky high, you might want to direct some additional money to a traditional or Roth IRA. And if you have some spare cash after maxing out your IRA accounts, you can always funnel it back into your 401k. When it comes to choosing between traditional and Roth options, it really depends on when you want to be taxed. With traditional accounts, contributions are made before taxes, while distributions in retirement are taxed. On the other hand, Roth accounts involve making contributions after taxes, but enjoying tax-free distributions in retirement. The choice is yours. And speaking of IRAs, they often offer a wider variety of investment options, such as exchange-traded funds. If you're in a solid financial position and can max out both your 401k and IRA without compromising your other goals, it's definitely worth considering. Now let's talk about something a bit different: cryptocurrencies. Did you know that around 44% of Americans with retirement savings have invested in cryptocurrency? Bitcoin, in particular, has been performing exceptionally well this year, so it might be worth considering. However, make sure you educate yourself about the economy and where the price of cryptocurrencies might be heading before jumping in. So, my friend, I hope this helps you make an informed decision about whether you should contribute the max or not. Remember, it all depends on your personal circumstances and goals. Just make sure you prioritize your non-retirement goals before diving into maxing out your retirement accounts. I've got a great personal finance quote for you today. It's from none other than Benjamin Graham, known as the father of value investing. Here it is. In the short run, the market is a voting machine, but in the long run, it is a weighing machine. What does that mean, you ask? Well, in the short run, the market is kind of like a popularity contest. It's driven by emotions, news, and investor sentiment. Prices can go up or down based on what people feel is hot or not. It's like a vote. Everyone has a say. But here's the catch. In the long run, things start to balance out. The market becomes more rational and objective. It starts to weigh the actual value of companies and their assets. It focuses on fundamentals like earnings, growth potential, and overall financial health. So what's the lesson here? Don't get caught up in short-term market fluctuations and hype. Instead, take a long-term perspective.
In this episode, we discussed the possibility of a recession in Europe and the US, the impact of CEO changes on stock performance, Ripple's impressive price rise in the crypto market, and the importance of considering personal finance goals before maxing out retirement contributions. As Benjamin Graham wisely said, the market is a voting machine in the short run, but a weighing machine in the long run. Thanks for tuning in to the Morning Download, your go-to podcast for personal finance, economics, and market insights in just 8 minutes a day. Don't forget to subscribe for more helpful content and sign up for our free newsletter at morningdownload.com/subscribe